everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those who are new to this channel, I am Madhu Mishra. I recently finished my PhD. 27th March was the day when I defended my thesis and my PhD. So now I am officially Dr. Madhu Mishra, and I did my research on black hole thermodynamics and deformation of supergravity. And if you are interested in knowing more about my research, I am going to link down the my website in the description box below, where I have uploaded all my research work as well as my thesis. So if you can go and read the introduction of my thesis, you'll get the essence of my research during my PhD. Now I have changed a little and have started working on more on black hole and less on supergravity. So it's very interesting. Right now I am in Chennai. I am working as a postdoc at Chennai Mathematical Institute, and in this channel I talk about my research life, life in IISER, life in academia, and answer all your questions about IISER in general, about MSc program in IISER, integrated PhD program in IISER, and a lot more. So if you are interested in such kind of videos, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. And if you have any question regarding academia and research, please write it down in the comment section below. Now without further delay, let's start the video. Today I am going to talk about my integrated PhD journey in IISER, which was a 7-year long journey. So I had so much to talk about, but I am going to cut short and talk important points that I can remember now, the highlights of my 7 years of journey. So integrated PhD program by design is a 7-year program, but usually people do not finish it in 7 years. It's just like PhD, which is like 5-year program, but you do not finish it in 5 years. Very few people are able to finish it in 5 years, and I'm so happy and so lucky that I was one of those people who could finish it in 5 years, and right now I am doing my research here. So first 2 years of integrated PhD program is MS program, where we do some coursework, some 60 credit course we have to do, and also we have to do 6 months of research project, where we work with our potential supervisors. So we get to choose the person you want to work with, and then we get some 6 months, or if you want to start early, you can start early. So I started early. I did 1 year project with my supervisor, the professor who became my supervisor. So I did my master project with him, and that's when I got to know that he's the person I want to work with, because he's going to be a great supervisor. So that is why integrated PhD program was it's a blessing that a researcher can have. If you when you join an institute, if you get 2 years to spend and get to know about the professors in your institute, and then you can decide if you want to pursue the research in that area with that professor. So supervisor is very important part of a PhD journey, and an integrated PhD actually helped me find a perfect supervisor for me. So I started working with Dr. Bindusar Sahu, who was Ashok Sen's student, and he was working on black holes and supergravity and string theory. So I did my project on entropy function formalism with him for a year, where I read all the papers he had worked on during his PhD and got to know about the formalisms that we will be using during my PhD on some other work. And also, only one professor can take only one integrated PhD student. That was the rule at that point of time, and there were 2 students who were interested in working with him, and I was very anxious and troubled about how to impress the professor so that he takes me as a PhD student, and luckily that worked out. I worked really hard for 2 years, and I actually struggled a lot for first 2 semesters when I was trying to understand everything. My graduation I did from a government college, which was a Hindi medium college, a girls college, and most of the subjects were taught in Hindi. So when I moved to IISER, where everything is English, like even the conversation that you're having with your professor is in English, and you have to convey everything in English, I suffered a lot, because although I could understand everything in English, I was not in a good condition to speak fluently in English or convey what I'm thinking in English. I do still struggle with public speaking, because I started so late in my life, the speaking in English part, that I still struggle a lot. Not because I can't speak in English, it's because I get very anxious and very caught up on my thoughts, because I'm thinking in Hindi. So right now I try to think physics at least in English, so that when I convey anything or any thought, I should be able to convey it properly. So a very big part of a PhD student is public speaking. So the communication, where you communicate your research to other researchers, is a big part of your a researcher's life, and that is where I struggled a lot in my 7 years, and I can proudly say that I have improved a lot when I look at my first presentation that I gave in a seminars, where I had to read some paper and present the paper in front of the students. The experience that I had there was terrible. Actually, that was, I think, my first panic attack, when I didn't know that it is a panic attack, but it was sort of that. I couldn't speak anything, I was shaking, and then they got me some juice and everything, and I could barely finish my presentations. I couldn't say, I knew the topic, I understood it properly, I am very sure that I understood it, but when it came to communicating the things that I had it in my slide, I couldn't do it. And that was my first public speaking experience in all my life. And after that, I had grown a lot. I went to South Korea recently and gave the presentation, and it went so well. The professors and students were there very happy, and they applauded my presentation. So it was a great experience. I think I have improved a lot, and I still think there is a lot of improvement that I should be able to do. So I still try to speak everything. I try to remember whatever my supervisor told me, how I can improve in these things. I still try to do that, but sometimes I just get nervous, and which you can't do anything about. So even during my thesis defense presentation, which was the last presentation I gave, I started nicely, but in the middle I got nervous. I have realized that when I see people I know in the audience, I get more nervous, which doesn't happen to a lot of people. People who sometimes people are happy if they have a known audience in known people in the audience, but for me it works other way around. Like when I went to South Korea, none of the people in the audience were known to me, everyone was unknown. So I was very confident, and I gave the presentation very nicely. But when I went to IISER, I was happy that I'll be able to give the presentation as smoothly as I did it in South Korea, but that didn't happen, and the only difference was that the audience was known, so I got nervous, which is a weird thing, but that is what happens to me. Now that is the public speaking part. Now I have published 4 papers during my PhD, and my first paper came after second year of my PhD, basically in the third year of my PhD. So end of second year and mid of third year is when I published my first paper, which I published in a Journal of High Energy Physics, which is a very high impact journal. And after that I published 3 more papers in the same journal, which has a very high impact. So out of these 4 papers, there are 3 papers where I have worked with my supervisor, and then there is one work that I did with a professor in Chennai Mathematical Institute, and that's how I got my postdoc in here. So that was my journey. There were lots of ups and downs, lots of time when I thought I cannot do it, is when my friends and my supervisor gave me the encouragement, support that I needed, that I can do it. And mostly when I was anxious was the period of COVID, when I was in my homes for a year, is when I was struggling a lot, because I was not able to connect with my supervisor on a regular basis where I can discuss with him my progress or anything. So I was getting very anxious, and that was the time I had no publication. And since I always wanted to finish my PhD on time, because of the financial condition, I do not want to extend my PhD to a period where I'm not getting any stipend. And so I wanted to finish it on time and move on from IISER to some other place for my postdoc. And that is why I was getting very anxious when I had no publications. So that is something that I realized later on when I had some publications, that a different research area will take different amount of time to publish your paper. So my friends who are working on some other field had published paper first, but I couldn't do it. And my supervisor has told me many times that, see, the area that you have chosen takes a lot of time to publish, because you have a lot of base to cover before you start publishing or before you start any original work. And high energy physics or supergravity and string theories is such subject where you have to cover a lot of base before you start original work. And since I was an integrated PhD student, I had these 2 years so that I can read a lot, and that really helped me to finish my PhD on time with 4 publications. Now, my coursework were good. I did find it difficult to start this sort of coursework, because during my college, my BSc, we used to get question papers and questions basically directly from the book, and mostly to derive something which was already there in the book. So there was nothing to think about. If you know it, you know it. It was just known things that you can just remember and write it down. So it was very easy for me during my BSc. But when I came to IISER, you have to understand everything in the class to do well in your exam, because the questions were not asked from any book. The professor usually make their own question paper based on the topic that they taught in the class. So you have to apply all the concept that you have learned in the class to solve the questions. So it was very different from the pattern that I was used to during my graduation. So that was a little struggle that I faced. And yeah, the assignments that they used to give were very helpful. That is where I got to learn that how to approach a problem, knowing the concept that you have, or that I already had, because during my preparation for entrance exam, I knew that how to go about a problem. But I was learning some new concept, general relativity, which I had never learned, and how to solve those questions that where you apply all the concept that you have learned in general relativity. I found it difficult initially, but I got through it. I had to work harder, and I was happy that because the professors there were very helpful, and also had my friends. We used to sit together and solve the assignment before we submit the assignment. So we got to discuss a lot of topic. And a lot of people, even the seniors who are doing their PhD, you can go and ask any problem you are facing during your MSc, and you can ask them how to go about these things, and they were helpful. So my senior, my friends, my supervisor, because of all of them, I had a great environment in IISER, and I could finish my PhD happily with sane mind. I never got insane. The only time I got anxious is when I was in home, away from all these people who can give me this energy that you get, or no, if not the positive energy, you just get the motivation looking at people working there. And during COVID, I was stuck in the house, and then I didn't know whom to ask if I'm stuck somewhere in some problem, or if I'm not able to study, if I'm not feeling like study, which will happen because it's a 7-year program, and there will be times, weeks, months where you will not want to study at all. And I got to learn that I should give that to myself. I have earned that 1 week where I will not study at all, and I have done it. And I think that was the right decision to make, because after that week, when I went back to doing the research, I was way efficient, way productive, and I made way more progress that I would have made if I was studying during that week. So give yourself a break is one thing that I learned. and things will take time is the second thing that I learned. Supervisor is the most important thing in your journey. The most important pillar of your PhD is your supervisor. So if there are 4 pillars, 2 pillars has to be your supervisor, and then one you can be, and then one can be your senior and your friends and family members who can support you. So I had support, full support from my family. They never asked me when you're finishing. In the end, they were getting trouble because there is no one in my family who are from academia, so they had no idea about how much time it takes for a PhD. Even I got to know once I started my journey in IISER that, oh, okay, so it's not just 5 years, it can go for 7 years as well, is when I started getting trouble, because I was like, okay, now I have to finish it in 5 years, because if I don't put an effort, it can go for 7 years, and that's not what I wanted. And I read some amazing papers, I gave some amazing presentations, which I am very proud of. And the presentations, for example, I read this double copy construction, which were not from my field, and we read it because of for general club, and that is when I got to know how to read a paper away from your field in 2 weeks and should be able to present. So I used to watch a lot of presentations, speak out loud all my presentations. Basically, whenever I make slide, I will speak out loud, because since I was struggling with public speaking, I couldn't just make the presentation and go there and start presenting. I had to practice a lot before I could go on stage and start presenting my slides. So speaking out loud was one exercise that my professor told me to do, and write it. I always write all the points that I want to speak there, and then I will repeat it multiple times so that it's there on my tongue. So those were the struggles that I faced. Mostly the struggle was with publishing the first paper, because I couldn't wait to get published, and the second, then the communication skill that I had to work a lot with. But yeah, since I was organized, I think there are some positive things also that I should give credit to myself, that I was very organized. I worked hard, and also I gave myself break. I did not work for 7 years constantly. I took a break in between for weeks, where I would just binge watch a series from first season to 12th season. Yes, I have done it, and I have no regrets that I did it, because that is why I was sane throughout my 7 years. I never had a mental breakdown. I'm so proud of it. And I never had, there were times when I thought, okay, after PhD, I'm not going to continue research. And all those thoughts only came when I was away from IISER. Once I was inside IISER, I was happy, and I knew that I wanted to continue doing research. So I am so happy that I got chosen by IISER, because I was only looking for BHU, and I never knew about existence of IISER. And since I went to Delhi, I got to know about JEST exam. I got through JEST exam, I got through IISER, and I finished my PhD and became Dr. Madhu Mishra. And I'm so happy that finally I can share my journey. I just wanted to talk about things that I already remembered and are close to my heart. So the things that are close to my heart are my supervisor, my friends, my seniors, and IISER as a whole. If you have a great supervisor, lot of things will come into place. And if your supervisor is not someone who is supporting you, you'll face a lot more problem than you can imagine. So please, if you decide to do research, choose your supervisor wisely. That is the one tip. If you have to ask me, or just give me one tip that you learned from your journey, is that choose your supervisor wisely. The institute does not matter. If you have a great supervisor who knows his research, who can help you, please go with that supervisor. Do not look for if it is in ISC or IISER or NISER or CMI or any ICDS or any institute. You should only look for the professor who can help you, who is expert in your field. So yeah, that is my journey and my takeaway from my journey. So hope you have enjoyed and got inspired by this journey. And if you have any questions, please put it down in the comment section below. I will answer all your questions. I have a coming up video where I'm going to talk about MSc entrance exam, all the informations that I was not able to convey through the interview. So I have got in touch with some professor and got to know some informations about MSc entrance exam and how they plan for it. So I will be discussing some of it in the next upcoming videos when I have more informations than I have it right now about the question paper criteria, negative marking and the last year question paper. But I still have to find out those information. So please bear with me, bear with this channel, like this channel, share the videos and subscribe to the channel so that I can help you even more with all the research and all the questions you have for me. So till the next time, see you, bye bye, take care.